We're not quite ready. There we go. We're live. Woo, woo. Who's on there? I am looking for your comments. Who is on? And let me just start by saying, if you are here and you haven't downloaded your Breakthrough Masterclass book, you are going to want to, because this is chock-a-block full. It makes it easier for you to take notes for on today's broadcast masterclass. There's screen grabs to help you remember what I'm teaching here today. So if you haven't, go to our handling360.com/masterclass, and you will see right there where you can download your copy of the workbook for today. Okay, so I see a lot of people that have already joined us. Welcome, welcome, welcome. In our first masterclass, there was a lot of people who expressed the what we were going for here. We're going for breakthroughs. Each one of the master classes, we've planned breakthroughs for each of you. I'm just going to raise my desk up a little bit. Oh, there we go. Hi from Brazil. Hi from Quebec. So we planned breakthroughs in the first masterclass. And if you haven't watched that first masterclass, don't worry. You can go back to the lobby and watch that anytime in the next week. In the first masterclass, we spoke about I shared about the science that my team and I have been data collecting and analyzing various people's agility runs, from ranked beginners in novice all the way up to the most recent world champions. And we found that there is a ratio that stays consistent, that close to 50% of the time our dogs are spent going over obstacles, but 50% of the time they are spent running between obstacles. And on a jumper's course, that can go up to 60%. So that was a mind blow for a lot of people. And because of that, I suggested a little tweak in thinking, that we don't view handling as looking at obstacles as little destinations. We look at a 30,000 foot view, that we're handling a path around an agility run, and we look at things in its entirety and cue our dogs to the path rather than to the destination of just different obstacles. Okay, so a lot of you shared how that influenced your thinking, and that you are now going to be looking at handling differently. I also shared the training of how to teach the focus forward. And, for all dog training, all that we want to do is build our dog's confidence. And it doesn't matter if we're doing in agility, but agility is something that gets complex very, very quickly. And because it gets complex very, very quickly, unfortunately, a lot of dogs are lost. They get overfaced, they shut down, and people say, oh, that dog's not a good agility dog. People may have told you, well, it's not possible with that dog. It's not possible with your plan in this dog, but I maybe just need a different plan. And today we're going to grow that plan from focus forward, and we're going to evolve that into learning about how to cue an obstacle based on science. So there's a lot of ways to train a dog, because dogs are just amazing, and they learn sometimes in spite of the methodology and not necessarily because of it. And so we're going to look at how much easier it is for dogs to learn when the learning is based on science. I'm going to give you an example. After our last masterclass, I got a direct message, and I asked her if I could share this direct message with you, and I was told that I could. So I'm going to share this with you. I'm going to put it up on the screen so you could read along with me while I read. This is how impactful using science-based learning that the dog gets, how it can change the dog's confidence, and then that changes the dog's love for what we're doing. So here is the note. It came from Marlise Berger. Hi, Susan. I'm not one for posting much on public threads, as other people usually have way more extreme experiences. So I don't, than I do. So my comments look pale in comparison, but I wanted to share this with you. I ruined agility for my dog who showed a lot of potential because I was too ambitious. I had poor guidance, A-frame on day one because he was brave. And I was ridiculously ignorant. Now I'm dealing with a completely unmotivated dog that is often overwhelmed by his environment. However, I watched your masterclass session 1 this week and attempted the adding value to a jump exercise last night. Suddenly, seeing the agility equipment made him perk up. He was excited to try and could not get enough. I actually had to be the adult and stop before doing too much. That's huge. That's really good. And later, when I called him from where he was sniffing around our horses, he ran to me and flew over the fence where he would normally run around or run underneath it, as he is small enough to do so. I was amazed at this. Could it be that one short session of transferring value to a jump made him want to jump anything that could be perceived as a jump, even a fence? Yes, it turned out yes. So I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and advice and tips free for the rest of the world to soak up. You're incredibly generous, and I appreciate you more than I can tell. So thank you, first of all, for that note. And I'm sharing it because transfer of value is so massive. It makes dog training so much easier for you because remember, it's about creating confidence, and clarity creates confidence. And when we have confidence, then we can add complexity in the form of challenges. And I'm going to share with you the dog training on that today. But before I get too crazy far ahead, I have a question for you. I'm going to put that on the screen, and I would love for you to put your comments on you say to this. So some of you, this may be nothing. And for some of you, you may have a lot of things to share with me. So other than words that just mean take this obstacle, for example, a table might be just a word that means get on that table because there's nothing else to do but sit there or lie down. So other than words that mean take this obstacle, how many verbal cues do you currently use in your agility training? And what are they? So leave that in the comments because I would love to know what that looks like for you. Okay. So other than words that the whole meaning of that is take this obstacle. And, for me, when I first started training in agility, that's what all my words was take this obstacle. So take this jump, take this dog walk, take this A-frame. So for some of you, you may be in a system where you're really not using anything other than your body motion and your physical cues. So I'm curious, for those of you who are on here, I'd like to know a little bit about what is it that what words you are using and what are they and what do they mean? So yeah, a lot of you are saying none. Yeah. For most people, I don't think I cleaned my glasses. For most of you, it would be none. Right, so just share that. Hardly any. Here coming Threadle. So some of you have directionals like left and right. Cool. So just write those in. I'm going to share with you what I've got planned for you today. Again, there's 3 sections. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at all the different ways that are available to us to cue our dogs in agility. There's really 5. And 2 are really not used that much. And depending on the dog, the top 2 are very strong for most dogs. And I'm going to share what those 5 are, how we can tweak them, and why it's important that we tweak them. So I'm also going to share this really cool graphic with you that my team and I put together. And it explains why there are some agility obstacles that you don't need any other cue than the name of the obstacle. So there are some that the name is fine, and there's others that require more. So what the difference is and why, I'm going to share that with you. And finally, I've got some dog training for you, just like we did in Masterclass number 1. Masterclass number 2, we're going to grow your focus forward, and we're going to use a scientific approach to creating a cue for your dog. Now, if it's something you've already done, you can pretend your dog doesn't know it and start from scratch. And if it's brand new to you, well, you're in the right place. So we're growing clarity with 1 cue. So that's what we're going to be doing. Okay, so some of you have a lot of verbals. Some of you have So, like your cue, get in. So one of you who haven't put your name on there, your cue, get in means tunnel. But what does it mean? It doesn't mean more than go in the tunnel and come out. What does get in mean to your dog? Go in the tunnel and stop dead and look at me? What is go in the tunnel and wait for more information? I want you to start thinking like being intentional. What do your cues mean to your dog in agility? I want you to go in a tunnel and then turn and catch me, like make contact with me, or go and take what you see after it, or go in. I remember a friend of mine, he was a funny character. Way back in the 80s in agility, he had stopped contacts, and his contact cue was a big long one. So he would say dog walk, and then his target cue was wait here for further information. That was his cue for his dog to stop at the bottom. Wait here for further information. That's pretty clear what it meant. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to give you another cue soon. But it always cracked me up when I heard that. Wait here for further information. Okay. So I want you just to think about, okay. So Scott said, my cue is climb. Does that mean anything other than take this obstacle? Okay. So we're going to be doing a deep dive into what those are. Okay, and before I go too much further, I have got to thank our sponsors, because our sponsors are awesome. And I'm just going to share with you, we've got 3 sponsors in this masterclass. So we have, from our people at For My Merles, these beautiful bags that will say Handling 360. This is one from our camp. And inside the bag is a Handling 360 cap. Yes. And a Handling 360 tug toy. And then you get this beautiful bag for toting your stuff around. So one of the gifts that we're giving away today, we will also, the amazing people at Blue 9, my current most favorite piece of fitness equipment for my dog. I love, love, love the new Propel. And let me just say, I think 2 is a minimum that you need to have. We're giving one away today. Actually, yeah, we're going to announce, there were some winners from our class 1. We're going to announce those winners near the end, and we'll be showing you how you can win these. I'm also giving away a back bump. So this is like cushiony. It's very cushiony. I can give it a nice hug. And you put it on the back of an agility jump to teach a dog how to take a safe path around that. And we got an extra one. So that's from my friends at Galligan Dog Agility Equipment. And they also are donating one of these. So this is, you can use this as a foot target, but I use this a lot for fitness. So it gives my dog, I can target their front feet. Don't move when your feet, this is a different surface than what your back feet are on. I will use it. My little dog can get front and back feet on this and still stand balanced. So those are the things we're going to be giving out today. I'm going to share with you, well, I'll tell you how you're going to win. I'm going to give away a target, and let's give away a Propel. 2 of them, right? I'll tell you how you can earn them. What you do is you share this feed, this masterclass on your social media, and share, if you were watching yesterday, share why it was amazing. My goal is to help the world, whoever's interested in dog agility. I want to help them make it easier for their dog. So it's called Breakthrough Agility Masterclass for a reason. I am going to be, we all have glass ceilings which prevent us from growing. We're breaking through these glass ceilings in these masterclasses. So share to social media. And if you have more than one social media, like if you're on Twitter and you're on TikTok or Instagram, share to as many as you would like. Come back and in the comments write shared and how many different places you shared it. And we will give you that many ballots into a random draw where we're going to be giving away a target and a Propel. All right. And let's look. Do I have yesterday's share winner? I know it was already announced. We're going to announce tonight at midnight who's going to win today's share, but I'm just going to go back and let's have a big celebration. I'm looking for my team and maybe I put them on the spot, but we had a share winner today. I'm giving away 2 share prizes yesterday or Monday. I only gave away one. Okay, so we're going to give away 2 share winners to 2 share prizes today. So shared once, and if you want to get real fun, say, yeah, Lisa Peer. Lisa Peer. Let's have raise the roof for Lisa Peer, who won yesterday's share. Today there'll be 2 of you. Okay, so let's jump in right now. I want to talk about, Lisa Peer. Thank you. So let's talk right now about the 5 ways that we cue our dogs in agility. And I want you to refer to your breakthrough workbook, because I want you to have this information for you down the road. So access that now, so you can, because there's fill in the blanks for you in this book. There's 5 cues. Now, some of them are less obvious than others, and some of them won't be obvious at all. For example, an obstacle, for many dogs, a tunnel, is a cue to a dog, in that you may be asking for a turn, but if there's a tunnel straight ahead, to some dogs, it screams their name and says, "Take me." Now, you will find the more clarity you add to the handling, the less obstacles are cues to your dog. So for my dogs, they would not have an obstacle override what my handling cues would tell them. So it's very rare that my dogs would have an off course. The more off courses you have, the more obstacles are screaming to your dog. And you've got to take that as feedback. Handling clarity is weak if the obstacles are really strong cues to your dog that say, you can take this now. All right. So for some dogs, it's a biggie, but it is still a cue for a lot of dogs. The 4th, less important, but it is somewhat important, is your position. So for example, this is powerful to my dogs when I'm leading out. If I leave my dog at the start line and I lead out, I've already focused them on a line. You learned that in Masterclass number 1. So I focused them on where I want them to go. Maybe I want you to slice across this jump and we're heading off in that direction. But where I lead out to, the position I take on course, is going to be another strong cue. We're not going to be going that way. We're not going to be going straight. My position is telling you where we're going next. So it is a handling cue. We call it a positional cue. But those 2 are less important. I would say the most salient cue to dogs, naturally, the most salient is our motion. Right? Because dogs are prey driven, they like to chase, that us running ahead, and even if we're running behind, our motion moving forward supports them to keep moving forward. If our motion suddenly turned, maybe turned and went around this way, it's highly unlikely they would still keep moving forward unless obstacle cues are really strong. All right. So motion for most dogs is the biggie. Handlers, motion. Now, even if you are walking really slow, you can't run in agility, motion will still be a cue. It just will be a little less salient for your dog. Okay. But if motion isn't the strongest cue, there needs to be something else, guys. And if you don't intentionally replace the motion, because you can't outrun your dog, you can't be in front, you can't move super fast. If motion isn't the most salient cue and you don't replace it with something you would like to be the most salient, then obstacles will take their place. Because if you've built value for obstacles, of course. All right. Second is handlers motions, or excuse me, handlers maneuvers. So your body, right? Like when you point at something, that is a very strong handling cue. When you turn your shoulders, especially if you put in the time to teach your dog to have value for your what I call reinforcement zone, the area at your side, then that is going to give your dog information. Where the direction your hips point, the direction your feet point, when your shoulder. So if I'm handling my dog and my shoulder is back open, then I'm saying, come to this side. If my shoulder is closed, I'm telling my dog maybe to drive around there or to maybe look to the other side. So physical cues are a very strong one. So we have obstacle cues, not as weak. We have we have the positional cues, and maybe, excuse me, not as strong. Positional cues, not really super strong. And then we have at the top, motion cues, always king. And number 2 is physical cues from the handler. Now, the one in the middle, that is verbal cues. And that's the one that we are going to be focusing on today and in our next masterclass. And I want you to recognize what you have and why you have it. Because a lot of people have been told, oh, verbal cues just confuse a dog. Verbal cues, that they're not going to work. That's not possible to get a dog to ignore your motion when you are using a verbal cue. And you've got to consider that is one person's reality. Maybe it's not possible to have verbal cues override your motion with that person's current plan of agility. But that doesn't mean it isn't possible with someone else's. So why do we care? If you're a person who can't outrun your dog, then verbal cues are a must. Verbal cues that are cueing a path, not just an obstacle. Verbal cues are a must. And if you're a person who can outrun your dog, verbal cues create clarity. And what does clarity do for our dogs? Gives them more confidence, allows you to enter things that are more complex, and the dog still absolutely understands what you want. So some of the best agility handlers on the planet have verbal cues cueing the path all the way around the ring. I wouldn't be able to compete at the highest level, at the world championship level, because let's face it, at that level, I'm guessing the average age might hover around 30 years old, possibly even younger. I turned 60 this year. I want to continue to compete at the highest level. So verbal cues are critical for me. But you might be sitting there going, oh, Susan, I just want to have fun with my dog. Remember what we talked about yesterday? Our 3 focuses. Number 1, safety. Number two is fun. It's got to be fun for our dog, or they're going to stop wanting to play with us. It's got to be fun for us, or we're not going to train. And number 3, success. Success comes from the execution, and clarity makes all of those things possible. So we without clarity and confidence, it's not possible. The safety value will go way down. If you add complexity before you have clarity, the safety is going to go down, which is going to make it more frustrating for your dog and less fun, and you're going to have a lot less success. All right, so verbal cues are critical. Think about a GPS, guys. It's giving you advance notice, right? If that GPS, you had it plugged in and it said, yeah, we're traveling along. Isn't it a beautiful day? Turn now. How effective would that be? You'd be like hammering the brakes and have to back up. And then it goes, yeah, you're on the right street now. Yeah, let's go a little bit further. Okay, now turn now. The value of a GPS comes because it gives advance notice. It cues a path for us. In 500 meters, you will be approaching a left turn on the left side. In 200 meters, so the GPS gives us advance warning. Imagine if your GPS came with one of those really cool airport flag dudes, right? Airport flag dudes that helps the planes come into the gate. Imagine if your GPS was equipped with one of those dudes running out about, I don't know, half a kilometer ahead. And as your GPS was giving you the verbal cues, this flag guy was going, yeah, we're going that way. Wouldn't that just add to the clarity? Because sometimes you miss, you're trying to keep your eyes on the road, you hear your GPS, but it was so cool if my verbal and the physical help me. And that's what really amazing agility handling is about. We cue a line, and where we want to get to is a place where once we get a dog on a line, so if you are about to make a turn, you're in the midst of the turn, you really don't need that flagman keeping going. They can move off to the next turn, right? So as soon as you go, yeah, I got my blinker on, I see where I'm going, the flagman can go. But in agility handling, a lot of people still hang around and watch the dog execute the move. I'm going to give you an example of that. So I'm going to show you a run from, it was the World Championships in Sweden. And I want you, because In Masterclass number 4, we're going to be talking a little bit about mindset, because I did mention in Masterclass number 1, that is our handler's domino, is our mindset and our belief, right? So Masterclass number 4, we're going to talk a little bit about imposter syndrome, and we're talking about how you can create not just for your competition, but for training. So I want you to notice at the beginning of this video, I'm standing to go in the ring for a run at the World Championships. Notice, do I look stressed? Now my dog is super excited because there's a seesaw in the ring, and the seesaw is her most important obstacle. She loves it. So she's a little jacked up. I think this is only her first World Championship, I believe. So she's a little excited because of the seesaw, but you remember, I've said this before. When there's a team, a handling team, one member of the handling team has got to be grounded. So if my dog's up here, I'm going to be zen. So I want you to observe. Number 1, I want you to observe as I go into the ring, how do I deal with, there is something unexpected that happens to me on the way to the ring. I didn't expect my dog to do this. So how do I deal with that? And then I want you to notice, how am I able to cue a line and leave? Do I watch the dog do the obstacle before I move on, or am I cueing and leaving? Okay, so I'm going to ask you to take in those 2 things as we watch this video. Let me pull up this video. Boom, the punch they got, I wasn't expecting. It doesn't change my demeanor. I go through this as part of my routine right here, and you'll see another part, boom, right there. The last 2 things I do before I leave the dog. Now watch. Do I wait when I send her to the back side of the jump? No, I'm already up at the next obstacle. Do I wait for her to complete that?
She had 12.6.
So do I wait for her to take that jump? No, I'm already all beyond that seesaw. And this is a critical one. Do I wait for her to finish the weave pulls? I'm leaving her at pull 9 and already across the front of the pulls. Do I wait for her to finish that jump? No, I'm way off ahead. So that's what it means to be cueing and leaving, trusting the dog. So there were 2 things I wanted you to take away from that. Number 1, it was the mindset, the calmness, the belief. It doesn't matter what happens. I know I'm going to go through what I planned the way I planned it. Okay. The other thing is, and Catherine picked on it, that I asked you to point to watch my connection. So I am watching the dog. So connection is 2 things. I mentioned this in Masterclass number 1. Connection is keeping an eye on your dog while they're doing what we're asking them to do, and then trusting the dog so that you can turn away and leave and reconnect. Now let's watch that again in slow motion. Okay, we're going to watch that same run in slow motion. So it'll be easier for you to see the times when I leave, and it's easier for you to see the times when I keep my eye on the dog versus leaving and reconnecting. 2 really important parts of handling our dogs in agility. So we'll watch that same run one more time, but we're going to watch it slow. So I send her to the back of the jump, but I don't wait for her. I leave. But I'm watching, I'm connecting. Now I pick her up again. Watch, I connect, reconnect. Watching, connecting, send, and I'm gone. I trust as soon as I put you on that line, the flagman doesn't have to stay there till that you get it right. The flagman can go. So I send her in the poles. Now watch, she's still weaving, and I'm cutting across. She's still got 4 more poles to do, but that allows me to get into the position that I need to be to get that next obstacle. A lot of dogs had an off course at that combination. So I get a tight turn by connecting over one shoulder and then reconnecting over the other. An unfortunate bar there. And now I have to send her to the backside. I have to trust that she'll do that on my verbal cue. And look at how far ahead I am when she lands. So that's what I want for you. And you get that by introducing verbal cues in a scientific way that creates clarity for the dog. And that's exactly what we started in Masterclass number 1. We started by, and a lot of you have already seen the impact of it on your dogs, that, wow, I've always put a toy out to get my dog to look at a jump. We need to get a dog to want to look at a jump. Then we can start giving them cues. Now, this is what I want when I want you to turn tight. Now, this is what I want when I want you to jump long, right? Every obstacle has the potential to give that dog information, but so often it doesn't happen. So often people cue the destinations. That's a seesaw. That's a dog walk. That's an A-frame. That's a tunnel. That's a jump. And so what the dog has to do is they have to take it and then waiting here for further information. I'm hanging in outer space. Tell me what to do. Oh, you want me to follow you this way. But if we could be that GPS with the flagman for our dogs, boom, clarity. Clarity creates confidence that allows our dogs to run as fast as they can in the sport of dog agility. Now you might be saying, oh, I don't care about going fast. Okay, but do you care about your dog having the most fun possible? That's all. Like, my goal when I get a dog is not to win the world championship. I love it when I do, but my goal when I start a new dog out in agility is to bring out the absolute best in them, to maximize the fun that they have. And I know that I can maximize the fun and the safety by maximizing the clarity and growing the confidence and not adding complexity until I get there. But typically what people do is they teach a jump cue like over, one of 2 ways. Now, see if you see yourself or your past in either of these 2 ways. So either we have a dog on a leash, or we just run beside them with a cookie in our hand and we say over as we try to get them to jump this thing. There was a little video going around that like 700 people shared direct messages with me with this little golden retriever puppy, like, who absolutely should have been nowhere near an agility jump, on leash, going over a jump, landing on their neck and their bum coming over the other side, right? That's typically how a lot of people teach over, but it's a meaningless word. Because your motion is running beside your dog, you're pointing. The dog is not focusing on a jump. They're hearing wah, 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 like Charlie Brown. All they're doing is, some of them might be in like lizard brain, self-protection. I don't know what we're doing here, but I'm not fond of this. Now, another way people teach over is they'll put a toy out in front and they tell the dog over or jump. And the dog will, of course, go for the toy. And they think, yeah, my dog's got it. My dog understands how to jump. Your dog understands how to focus on a toy. And they aren't even paying attention to what is in their path. Okay, so later today, I'm going to share you an alternate way to teach that. An alternate way to teach that. But first, what I want to share with you is a little path. I want to explain the differences between obstacles. So there's jumps, there's tunnels, there's weave poles, there's contact obstacles. And I've divided all the obstacles in agility into 2 groups. And there are what I call destination obstacles. And those are obstacles that end in a definite stop. And there's an asterisk to that one. There's destination obstacles, and they're what I call expressway obstacles. Now, if you're driving an expressway, there's ramps, off ramps, options all over the place. There might be a clover leaf somewhere. There's a lot of options on that expressway, and you've got to know, should I be taking the off ramp or should I be driving straight? So destination obstacles are obstacles. It's okay if you use the name of the obstacle as your cue. For example, I don't know if you're watching this and you are still running agility where they use a table, just leave a comment. Yes, we use a table. So I know some venues still use a table. And if you are using a table, that's an obvious destination obstacle. You don't have to tell the dog table and then 5 seconds from now we'll be turning right, because you've got 5 seconds to reorient yourself as a handler to get yourself in a position where you can direct them to the right turn, correct? Right? So some of you are saying, yes, we still use a table. There are definitely some venues who do use a table. That is a destination obstacle. No need to give any path information. You don't need to tell them how to come up. You don't need to say how to approach the table. You don't need to say what's going on after. It's a destination obstacle. It's a no-brainer. Just go ahead. The way we taught focus, teach the table cue the same way, right? And if you didn't watch Masterclass number 1, you can jump on over after you've watched this one and see how we would teach focus. You could teach your destination obstacles the same way. If you do a stopped contact, for example, on a seesaw, I teach a stop and a run. So if I want a stopped contact, the seesaw is a destination obstacle. Nothing's going to happen after. You just stop at the bottom and wait here for further information, as my friend used to say. Still cracks me up. That's got to be 20 years ago that I used to say that. If you teach a stop at the bottom of the dog walk, a stop at the bottom of the A-frame, your cue, whatever you use to call a dog walk or a frame, it doesn't matter, because it's not, the dog is waiting for you to tell them what to do next. So any obstacle that has a stop at the end is a destination obstacle. Go ahead and call that obstacle whatever you want. Now, the exception to this is I put weave poles in as destination obstacles. And the reason I do that is 2 reasons. Number 1, it takes our dogs the longest to do a set of weave poles. It takes longer than that for them than to do any other obstacle, typically. Now, for some dogs, their dog walk it takes a long time. But let me just say, at a world championship level, a dog walk might be a second, 1.2 seconds. An A-frame and a seesaw would be about 1 second, where a set of weave poles would probably be 2.25 to 2.5 seconds. All right. So it takes the longest to execute a set of weave poles, and it's the time on a course when the dog is going the slowest. So I treat them as a destination obstacle, meaning I'll just say poles or weave or whatever, because I can give them further information at the end. All right. So now I want to, all the rest of the obstacles, I want to share with you a graphic that will explain to you how I treat all of the rest of those obstacles. Okay. So it's right here. Now, if I want my dogs to take a jump and go straight, I will use a certain cue. If I want my dog to take a jump and turn tight to the right or tight to the left, there's 2 different cues. So now any single jump could have 3 different cues for my dogs, right? If I want my dog to take a jump and make a gradual turn that's 180 degrees or less, there's another cue. And if I want my dogs to take a jump that is less or greater than 180 degrees, there is now a 5th cue, right? So I've got go straight, take a turn to the right, turn to the left, gradual that's greater than 180, gradual that's less than, 270. And then I have a cue that I'll tell my dog, don't take the obvious side. If you're heading towards that jump, don't take that side. I want you to come to the back side. So there's 6 cues. 6. 6 cues, where my very first ever agility dog, back then, the courses were so much easier. I'm talking about back in the 80s. All I said was over, right? Over. That's it. One word, and over could mean we're going to go right, we're going to go left, we're turning tight, we're just over. And so that dog did a lot of looking at me as if to say WTF after every obstacle. Like, what do you want from me? I'm going fast and I don't know where I'm going, because the GPS was broken back in the 80s. When I give a cue to tell my dog I want a tight turn, what that does is tell the dogs two things. It says, well, probably tells them a lot more. It tells them, I need you to collect your stride. When you're going into this jump, put in a little collection stride that will allow you to get up and under the bar to make a nice tight turn. It tells them, put in a collection stride, alter your path on the way in, and it tells them where we're going on the way out. So the GPS is saying hairpin turn ahead 200 meters. That's why I have 6 different cues. Now, if you're watching this and you're brand new to agility, please don't click out. Please don't go, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I'm going to share with you, if you're brand new to agility, what I'm suggesting is a completely different language. Like we are learning a new language. When I'm handling my dog in agility, my cues sound like Susan, I don't know what you're saying. It's a different language. And when you're learning a different language, it's best just to maybe pick 5 words. Get really comfortable with those 5 words. And we're going to teach you one of them today. Actually 2. I'm going to teach you how to teach 2 words in your new language today. All right. I'm sharing with you what I've got and what you might ascend to, and what our students in Handling 360, eventually over the course of the year, they add new words to their language as they go along. And so they become fluent in this language and they can speak the language, which is the language of their GPS for their dog. Okay, so let's go back to that graphic. So for a tunnel, if I say the word tunnel to my dog, she knows with 100% certainty she's going straight. That she can accelerate on the way in, and then she can accelerate on the way out. And what she sees on the way out is the obstacle she's meant to take. 100%. I'm never going to put her through a tunnel and say, I need you to turn over here and use the word tunnel. That would be a gradual turn. And so that would be a different word. And if I wanted her to turn tight to the right or tight to the left, for me, I have 2 different turns. But if you're brand new and just growing your language, you would only have one. And the one you would have would be turn tight towards me. It would be based on your body and not a direction, right? So I have turn tight to the right, turn tight to the right, go straight, gradual. And I also have take the non-obvious. So if my dog, I'll try and do this for you. Here's my hand. Here, my hand's a tunnel. And if my dog is heading, difficult time. If my dog's heading towards this end of the tunnel and I want them to say that end, I don't want to react back here. I want to be proactive before the obstacle before. So the obstacle before will say, you're not taking that entry. We're taking that one. And that's how it can happen with ease. Because if you wait and tell them when they're on the way to the wrong entry and go, no, you have decreased the safety for your dog because you're adding more stress to their shoulders. So the GPS increases the safety and increases the fun and decreases the frustration. All right. So if I'm doing running contacts, which if you're brand new to agility, I would strongly encourage you to start with stop contacts. It's so much easier for you to train. But I have a running contact. So if I want my dog to get on the dog walk and go straight, I would just say run. If I want my dog to get on the dog walk and know there's a turn coming, I would say hop, up, 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 up. Now, when she's on the dog walk, because the dog walk, I have a full second to say, now this is the direction I want you to turn. So I have a cue to say, get on this obstacle, but be prepared to turn versus get on this obstacle and just accelerate as fast as you can. So there's 2 different cues. So this is all about cueing those expressway obstacles. All right. And I will give them the kind of turn I want them to take when they were on the obstacle. And the same will be true with the weave poles. So I'll give them the cue that I want you to turn while they're weaving. Okay. So that is all about, and again, if you're brand new to this, I don't want to overwhelm you, but I do want to show you how you can be so clear to your dog. And in the back of your of today's handout, there is a QR code, and this is a great, great story. So this is a story about somebody who was overwhelmed, who in their previous system, they were told not to use verbals, not to be that GPS with their mouth, that they needed to be quiet. And she had a young border collie who I think at the time was almost 4 and hadn't had a clean run. He was between 3 and 4. And she came to me. Now, I want to preface this by saying this was an incredibly talented handler. She'd already won the AKC Nationals once. And she said to me at a trial, I'm frustrated with my dog. Do you think handling 360 would help bring clarity? And I said, what you need is a GPS system. But you have to be prepared to put your ego aside. And a lot of successful handlers can't do that. If you're prepared to put your ego aside and learn a new language for you and your dog, I think you will have success. And to her credit, she did. And not only did she have a clean run with that dog, she went on to win the AKC Nationals with that dog. And then she won the AKC Nationals with the puppy that she trained in the exact same way. And I believe she won 3 more AKC Nationals. So when you bring clarity, you can go from 0 to hero. And it's about all I'm asking you today is to be intentional. What do your words mean to your dog? That's all. What do your words mean to your dog? So if you go to the back of today's workbook, there'll be a QR code. You can just put your camera at it. And if you're watching, if you're looking at this on your tablet or your phone or your computer, you can just click the link there. You don't have to use, but if you've got it printed out, you can just put your phone over the QR code and it will pull up the link so you can see that story. It's a really, really cool story. A little bit of, heartstrings are pulled a little bit on that one. Okay. Clarity. That's what we're looking for. Now, here's what I want to do next. I'm going to share the dog training, the science, and we'll put some links on our page because I am a scientist. I have a bachelor's degree in science, and everything that I do with my dog, it has to make sense from a science point of view. And so when I was looking at changing my handling and becoming that verbal GPS, I found an article that talked about dogs understand tones better than words. So I could say, take this tunnel, and now we're going to turn right, now we're going to turn left, now we're going to go straight, and say it all in the same tone, but it makes a massive difference. And so all of my cues, if you listen to one of my runs, they are different. The words are in different tones and cadence. So for example, when I want my dog to go to the backside of a jump, I don't go to the back, get back. I say, la, 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 la. And when I want my dog to turn tight to the right, I say, right, 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 right. So there's different tones. I go low, I go high, I make different sounds and rhythmic. And it's just the language. All right, now back to you. Let's go back and grow your dog training understanding and grow how we grow from our focus forward from our masterclass number 1. We now want to grow that into a salient cue that is meaningful to your dog. And we're going to work on the jump cue. So when I say jump to my dogs, it means explode your stride. No matter where you are with me, just take off and running and power as far as you can over that jump. And what you see ahead of you is exactly what I want you to take. And if you don't see anything ahead of you, just keep going along. So not only does it help me on course because my dog has confidence, but as I'm coming up one of those closing lanes or closing lines, my dog doesn't slow down over the last obstacle because they don't see any more obstacles. They don't slow down and turn back to me. They power over that last jump because they have a salient understanding of what the cue jump means, and you're about to get that same understanding. All right, so we'll start with the intro to this, and we're gonna get ready. Now grab your notes, take notes in your workbook, because there's a lot of great information here for you. Okay, let's go. Let's teach your dog a jump cue. A cue that you will keep consistent to mean one thing and one thing only, and that is drive the line you're on. But first, every time we do anything with jump work, it's really good. Actually, make this a habit of any time you're working your dog anywhere around any agility equipment. Warm up with some focus forward. So intentionally make sure your dog is focusing on the bar. Remember, our bar is on an angle. We're just going to warm up back and forth. And remember, handlers on this side, then our dog is going to be going over the jump and reinforcement just behind the handler. Right back here. Now, if it was switched around, it would be the reinforcement back there. The dog will turn nice and tight because they can count on where the reinforcement is going to be placed. Here's the really cool thing. This is a warm-up, but as a freebie, you can teach your dog a tight turn cue. Now, if you wanted it to be dependent upon you, which is the easier way to go, you could use your check cue to mean collect your stride and turn tight every time you warm your dog up. You could also start introducing a turn to the right or a turn to the left, depending on which way the dog's turning, all through your warm-up. That's just an extra benefit, teaching a tight turn while you're doing a warm-up. So the jump, remember, that's an expressway obstacle. We need to have clarity to the dog. Do we want you to go straight? Do we want you to turn? And if you're brand new to agility, I would encourage you to think of your verbal turning cues to be in relation to you. So in the example that I gave, Kim gave the check cue. When she says check, her dog knows to power hard to the jump, but put in a collection cue right before the jump and turn tight back towards me. As you evolve in agility, and if you want to get fancy and go turn right and turn left, you can, but I want to make it super easy for you. So super easy is have all of your directional cues be based on where your dog is relative to you. Turn towards me or turn away from me. Okay, so that's the bonus of this warm-up. Always, we want to remind our dog what focus forward is. Good. You can add distractions of time. Good. Giving your cues, your verbal cues, your praise, and growing duration. But you also can then placement of reinforcement to create that understanding of a tight turn while you're warming your dog up. How cool is that? Okay, let's get on to our next video. Now, let's go on and introduce the jump. The first step in teaching our dog to jump. We have a jump and it's on an angle. When we're teaching our dogs to turn tight, we'll put that bar on an angle because the dog will seek the lower end. But now we want them to jump straight. So we need to present a different picture to get them to do a different behavior. And so the first thing we're going to do, the bar is going to be parallel. Again, it's going to be nice and low. You can, if you're doing this, you can do this with a puppy and just use a bump, not a bar at all. Now, the other thing is we've switched positions. Instead of the handler being down here, we put the dog up here. Now, this is one of the most important elements of teaching your jump cue. Where your dog goes, there will be an imaginary line. Now, if you're familiar with the 2x2 weave training DVD, you will be familiar with something called a reward line. Super important when we're teaching weave pulls, and it actually is pretty darn important when we're teaching anything. So we're going to establish for your dog a reward line, which maybe at the very beginning might not be that far out. The reward line goes from where the dog is straight out. Our training is going to focus around the reward line. Dogs are great at picking up patterns of reinforcement. So if we can teach the dog, this is a line, and this is always where your toy or your food ball will appear, only on this line, then guess what? They're going to become very, very good, very, very quickly at learning what jump means. Have you decided what your jump cue is going to be? I suggest something that doesn't have 2 syllables. It could be something quick, rolls off your tongue very easy. And I like something that the dog can really hear from a distance. So think about it before you start training your dog. All right, so here's what we've got. We've got a reward line here. And what you're going to do, your dog is going to give you that focus forward, just like we did when the setup was slightly different. And you're going to just give a break cue. The dog's going to be focusing on the bar. They'll go over the bar, and you are going to throw your reinforcement over your dog's head so it lands in front of them. Super important. You use a toy that doesn't bounce all over the place so that it will land in a particular area, always on the reward line. If you're using food, put your food in a gamble ball or something that you can throw quite easily. Ideally, it's weighted so you can throw it a long distance. I strongly recommend you not just throw food for this. You might be able to get it started this way if you're using something big, but you're not going to be able to get your dog going a long distance if you are just using food. Okay? So this is round one. We're just giving our dogs a break cue. They're going to go over. You're going to toss your toy so it lands on the reward line. But this is a biggie. This is one of the mistakes a lot of people make. They throw the toy and then tell the dog break. In effect, the dog's just chasing a toy. The dog goes over and you throw the toy so it lands in front of them. Really important. If you watch Kim in this video, you can see that her dog is well over the bar and driving the reward line before Kim even brings her arm back to throw the toy. So do not throw the toy and lure the dog with the toy, because then you are teaching them that the word jump means chase a toy. We want them to understand the word jump means you're focused on a line, and then I'm going to give you a cue and you are going to go over and you're going to trust that something is going to appear, and eventually that something is another obstacle. I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's get on to the next stage. Mind blow, right? So there's a few things I want to unpack from that little clip. Number one, if you have a puppy, you can do this, but we want to grow confidence with any dog by making the correct choice the most obvious choice and by minimizing the complexity of what we're asking. I would never put a jump bar out there with a puppy. Never. Like, there is no reason I would do that. I would use, like, our friends Galligan. They make these really cool foam jump bumps. You could use a pool noodle cut in half. Please don't use a bar. Number two is I want you to realize that so many people, they think they're doing this, but what they're doing is they're saying jump and throwing the toy at the same time, and the dog is just being lured by the toy. Super important. And I can't stress to you enough, when we were asking our dogs to turn, we had a reward zone. That was an area that the dog could always predict my reinforcement was coming behind you, so that I was taking as tight a line as I could to get to my reward as fast as possible. In everything in dog training, if you start being intentional about how can I make the placement of my dog's reinforcement work for me, I promise you, you will exponentially improve how quickly your dog learns. So many people don't even care. Yeah, just tell the dog to jump and then have them come back and tug with you. They don't care where they're getting a reward on the dog walk. Yeah, get them to do their dog walk and then have them come and get a tug with you. If you become intentional about the area the reinforcement is happening, and is that enhancing the dog's learning, you're going to go to bed at night and go, wow, I have all this extra time because of that damn Susan Garrett, because my dog's learning things so much faster. Damn her. Or not, whatever. Okay, let's move on. So we're gradually going to rotate this jump so that the dog is going, the dog started almost slicing a jump. So the jump, was almost perpendicular. And then we turned it a little bit more. The reason we start with it on a slice is because the jump bar is so close to the dog. It's easy for them to be successful. Remember, we always want to set them up that the easy choice is the right choice. But we gradually start rotating this. And so the dog gets further away from that jump bar. But by then, they're driving on this reward line. You want to build up this distance until the dog could drive, I would say, 3 to 4 meters or 12 to 15 feet. And when they are driving that distance, that's when you're going to stop saying break, and we're going to introduce the jump cue. And here's what it looks like. Your dog's focused on the line, and you're going to say jump, wait for a second, and then say break. But the dog might be looking back at you when you say jump, because they're like, I don't understand. In this case, it's okay this one time that they look back when you give them their break cue. Eventually, the word jump is going to come before the word break so much, they're going to start leaving on the word jump. Why would they do that? Because there is value for this jump here, right? There's value for the jump, and there's value for the reward line. We've built in value. We've told them, drive this line, and good things are going to happen while you're driving that line. So when you introduce a cue, you've got your dog who already knows the behavior of going over the jump and driving the reward line. You're just going to put a word in front of it. Jump. When they go over, you're going to toss the toy. Don't be concerned if this is a little confusing, and just go to jump and then your release word. So if your release word isn't break, use whatever release word you have, right? Jump free, jump okay, whatever it is. So now we have a dog who understands to jump on the word jump, okay? Jump. 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 Now we've got a sorry about that. So number one, I want to make sure that your dog is ready before you start adding your cue. How do you know your dog is ready? Number one, they got that focus forward. Yep, I've got my line. I've got value for that. You might want to add a mirror in front of your jump a couple of times to see, is your dog really looking at the bar? Or are they like going, are you going to say something? Where's my cookie? Right? We want them focused forward. When you say break, they're exploding forward. We want to create the behavior the way we'd like to see it before we add a jump cue. But most people don't do that, right? Sit, sit, sit. We put the word in front of the behavior. And what ends up happening is we get crap behavior, and now we put a name on it. When I say this name, give me that crap behavior that I taught you. We're not doing that. We're creating excellence. We're creating understanding. We're creating beautiful behavior. And then we're saying this gorgeous extended stride is called a jump. That's what we're looking for from you in your training. Okay. Your dog gives you the feedback. If your dog is still confused, you've got to make it easier for them to be successful. So you get all of those things. Okay, let's go on to our next. Now we've got to grow this distance. This reward line goes on and on and on. So the dog could jump and run for 40 feet if you really stick at this. The distance the dog is from the bar now is quite a bit longer, so it is more difficult for them to get it correct. I just want to set the dog up so that they're, give them the ability to get up off their butt and run towards the bar. This bar is still really low. We're not going to raise the height of the bar until the dog has great understanding. You can start to move yourself out of the picture so you're off to the side. Key things, focus forward, locked on the line. You say jump, they power forward. And now you can even rotate this even more so that the dog is doing a jump that is like this. Not a problem. They've got to be able to do that jump no matter what the angle of the jump. It's still the same behavior, no matter if it's angled this way or angled that way. The dogs, you say jump, they don't jump in the direction of the angle, because in that case, this would be going straight, wouldn't it? They jump in the direction that they are currently faced in. It's super important. Jump doesn't mean jump this way. It means jump on the path that you're currently on. Really important little detail to keep in mind. Good. Jump. Good boy. Let's get some hearts for Kim in her throws there with her dog Switchy. And Switch is a 10-year-old dog who has not been around agility for 2 years. So you can see that the understanding is there because the placement of reinforcement is helping him to remember what his job is. All right. Probably a really common novice mistake when people are first learning agility is whatever way like let's say that we have a agility course and the first jump is angled, but we're going over to, to your right. They put their dog, they still square their dog up to go this way, because they believe the angle of the jump is where their dog should be sat. The dog should be sat facing the direction of the path. It's all about the path, not about the obstacles. Okay, let's talk troubleshooting before we go on. What if when you start doing this, your dog won't focus down the line? You can bring your focus tower back in, but this is what I would like you to do. Let's say you're going to notice this right at the very beginning. So your dog is here and you're here, and they're saying, this is different than what we just did. I'm thinking I should be turning this way, so I don't really know what to do. Not a problem. Put your focus tower out here. But you never bait it with food. There should be value in that tower if you did step one correctly. And what you're going to do, you're going to give your break cue. Your dog's going to run towards that, and then you're going to drop your reward back here. They should not need to get near that tower. All right? Once they have the understanding that you want them to run on this reward line, you can get that tower out of there. Okay, what about if you have a dog that they're so jacked up about the reward you're throwing that they stop focusing and they just go over the jump and just look at you because they know you're going to be throwing that over your head? Well, there's two things you can do. You can try going to a lower value reward. For example, in this video, Switch he lost his mind when Kim started throwing a ball, and he went from driving his reward line to like looking for the ball as soon as he went over the jump. Stick with a lower value reward, and that won't be a problem. The second thing you can do is have somebody out there with the same toy, and every once in a while that person tosses the toy onto the reward line. So let's say that maybe an extra person will be down here, and they could toss the toy, so that if the dog starts looking back here, then they toss the toy. And you could have like a nod or a signal, like, baseball players do, coaches, that I'm going to throw the toy, you're going to throw the toy. That person could be, way back here, just sitting in a chair, and then they'll throw the toy. So you want the dog, if they start looking for the toy, that's not what we want. We want them focused and driving, not kind of loping, looking for where that toy. You may just have to, before you do any of this, I used to do this with my students, before they were allowed to train 2x2 weave training, I would bring out a laundry basket, and they used to have to throw the toys into the laundry basket from a distance. So if you can't hit the reward line with your toy, time to get your throwing it up to snuff. Now, you could also experiment with, I like to throw underhand. If I'm going a long distance, obviously I throw overhand. I think overhand is more obvious motion to the dog as they're leaving. So play around with that. And by that, I mean, we don't want an obvious motion. We don't want our dog to they're so good at picking up patterns. We don't want our dog to say, oh, she's got her arm cocked back, I'm going to go long. We want to be as neutral as we can with every repetition so the dog can't predict what we're going to ask for, right? My mentor, Bob Bailey, he's got so many great isms, but he says dog training or training is a mechanical skill. And so our dogs, and I say this so many times in my podcast, our dogs give us feedback on the training we've given them. We have to believe their feedback and not try to ignore it. So if our dog isn't doing what we want, we've got to look at, well, is it my mechanics? Is my throw so bad it rarely hits the reward line that my dog's going all over the place? Then I'm going to stop the dog training. I'm just going to work on that reward line. You need to believe the dog. You need to take that feedback and not say, oh, my dog's not going straight, I'm going to put a big old cookie out in front so he starts going straight. That is just ignoring your dog, the feedback your dog's giving. Your dog's trying to help you be a better trainer. And by ignoring it, you're going back to luring, and now you've undone all that great work that you've done because you're not helping build that dog's understanding. Now we're really going to test your dog's understanding. And this is something that not a lot. Okay, now we're going to grow your dog's understanding a little bit. We're going to add a second jump. So the second jump might be just your dog's once, like maybe 3 meters away or 10 feet away. Again, set very, very low. Make it easy for them to be success. And in this case, you'll say jump, jump, and the reward line will still be whatever line the dog is set. So if you decide, hey, we're going to go crazy here, we're going to do an angled line, then the reward line, you guessed it, is going to be straight out here, right? And so you're going to say jump, jump, and throw the toy out here. Eventually, you're going to grow that distance, and so it could be a crazy distance away. The key is that the dog goes over the jump, doesn't look back from you. Yes, normally you'll be running, but we need to isolate your dog's understanding of the jump cue, the verbal jump cue, before we add the complexity of them having to keep an eye on what you're doing. Okay, so 2 jumps, short distance, and grow that distance. Always keep the bars low, because raising the height of the bar is adding complexity. We don't add complexity until we have 100% confidence. So grow that distance. I would say you might get it out to 10 meters, like 30 or 35 feet. Is there a chance that that might be that distance at a trial? Maybe, but not as likely. But then you really have an understanding. Notice how Kim celebrated her perfect throw, right? Dog training is about, you've got to celebrate the little things that leads to the big things. I also want you to acknowledge that what Kim did on that last throw, she had focus forward and she praised and built a little bit of duration. She's got a 10-year-old dog. She's not going to be doing agility with him anymore, but she's still doing really, really good dog training. Build that duration so that he can't say, I'm focused forward, now throw. I'm focused forward, now you better throw. Right? Focus forward is a job that allows me to do what I want to do, right? And so it's something that you build up confidence in your dog doing that for you long term. All right, let's get to our final. Now we're really going to test your dog's understanding. And this is something that not a lot of people do. We take a dog who knows how to do a skill, and we keep growing that skill, growing that confidence, great. But we also have to teach them what that skill isn't. So for example, if the dog's favorite obstacle was a tunnel, and there was a tunnel here, and you told them to go, it's a pathetic tunnel, and you told them to jump, and you're running up here, they may go, oh, but I like tunnels, and the tunnel's closer, I'm just going to go in here. Has that ever happened to you? Well, this little game is going to help prevent that from happening anymore. What you're going to do is you're going to set up to your 2 jumps, but you are going to walk over and drop a toy. So it's outside of the jumps. The dogs would have to go out of their way. This is not a jump, that's a turn. So if the dog is doing their jump, that shouldn't come into the picture. If it does, you can just move it further and further out. There is a distance where the dog goes, oh, I've got it. I should do this. Here's what's happening. The toy, they're saying, oh, that has more value because it's closer, proximal value. It's closer, more valuable. Or, I love this toy a lot more than I love the jump. I love the jump, I got value for it, but oh my gosh, I love this toy. So you could try a lower value toy. Moving the toy further and away lowers the value because they understand if they do that, they can earn that. Distraction training. It helps the dog to understand it's not this, it's that. When I say jump, you jump. Now, another thing you could do with this is you could get a little fancy. I'll show you what that looks like. So fancy test number 1, instead of telling your dog jump when they're all lined up looking at that second jump, give them their tight turn cue. If you've gone ahead and taught one, you could have them do jump and then a jump and then add a tight turn cue on the second jump instead of asking him to go long again. So it would look like this. You would say jump and immediately start saying check, 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 check. Now, the only way your dog's going to understand that is if you've grown the distance on your check cue. So if you haven't done that and worked up to a flat angle, you're not going to add the check, check cue just yet. Kim went real crazy here. She got really sexy, and she actually told the dog on a verbal cue alone to take jump and then go around to the back side of the jump. Jump, you can get really crazy with this. It's all about slicing out your dog's understanding of a verbal cue alone. Drive, keep focus on the line, and listen to the cues that I'm giving you. So often people teach or think they're teaching the skill. This is what it is. This is what it is. This is what it is. And that's great to build confidence in the initial stage. But to grow understanding, when you're really focusing on, I need my dog to understand rather than I just need to see my dog do agility. I need my dog to understand. You grow the confidence and you grow the clarity. And then you throw in a challenge, a little bit of complexity. And if they fail, then you take that feedback and say, listen, I need you to understand that jump means jump always, regardless of what you want is closer. It means power straight. And yes, we will eventually be adding our motion, but those are adding motion cues and handling cues, which just makes it super clear. Get the clarity of your verbals first. And this is just one cue, the cue jump. But I want you to experience the power of seeing your dog go, oh my gosh, I get this. I get this. So I want you to train this, and I want you to train it evaluating understanding rather than just trying to get distance. Distance is complexity. Height of a jump is complexity. We don't grow complexity until we have clarity. Clarity grows confidence. Confidence gives you the permission to go to complexity. Okay, so think about that. I want to share a little story about and I see there were some questions. I'm going to get to your questions, but I'm going to share a story. I had a student, and she had dabbled with agility, but really hadn't been successful with her two dogs. And she then started our program and really bought into the verbal cueing and the GPS. And she went to a USDAA local Grand Prix trial. And it's all about speed and being fast. And lo and behold, she won it. Well, this is really the first dog she'd ever gotten an agility championship on. And so people are like, well, that was a bit of a fluke because there were some world team handlers at the trial. And here she won this class. And then she said, well, I'm going to go to the regional. So the regional, like, the Grand Prix is a bunch of local is this a local trial? She's going to the regional, which is the Southern United States regional. And yeah, okay, you're going to get your comeuppance because this is just your first, real serious agility dog. And lo and behold, she won it too. She came in first place. The two dogs on the podium with her were world team dogs. Adding clarity maximizes the dog's understanding. You are that GPS with a voice cueing the path, and the little flagmen, your body and your motion, just assisting with that. Now, I'm going to tell you something else about her. I'm going to show you a picture of her on the podium with her dog. To be disrespectful to all you Siberian Huskies owners out there, but that's not normal. It's not normal for a Siberian Husky to have that level of skill. And that's what it does. That's why, at first Handling 360 was a real magnet for the non-traditional breeds, but then we did have our share of border collie people for sure, but in more recently, people are like, I just want to maximize safety, fun, and success for my dog. So I want to grow this understanding. You can do it now. I've given you the tools. I want you to work through that tonight, and we're going to come back tomorrow. I'm not signing off because I'm going to answer your questions, and I'm going to announce who won yesterday's shares. Getting really cool stuff. Tomorrow, I want to grow your understanding. In agility, there's a lot of moves, and it can be overwhelming to know how to walk a course and how to know what you should be doing. That's what we're going to be addressing tomorrow. Okay, so first, let me share our winners from yesterday. Okay, so our first gem winner is Chris Anderson, and Chris shared this gem, which I cannot read, so you're going to have to trust me. My gem, so Chris writes, my gem is focus on the path for my dog, and in turn, me understanding the path my dog is seeing in my agility class. In my agility class yesterday, my dog chose not my path, but another obstacle that was available. I thought I was being clear in my verbals and physical cues, but obviously not. He'd already decided his path because I had not laid out a clear one. I left the class realizing that as courses become more complex, holes in our training will show up. And bingo, you hit it right on the nail, right on the head. And this piggybacking with my AHA during my VIP work. And if I haven't trained the cue, the behavior there, it's just ain't going to happen, right? If he's very fast and getting faster, we're moving into increasingly more advanced courses. I've been taught about drawing the path and pushing the line, etc., but not about the piece about understanding and what he is seeing. Thank you. This is a key that will unlock gates for us moving forward. And so this is not uncommon. What happens is people have success in the early levels, level 1 or novice, and maybe level 2, 3, and they get into more technical, complex courses, and it falls to pieces. And what often happens is the dog gets frustrated and they show signs of stress, like sniffing or leaving or getting the zoomies or just appearing like they're taking off courses on their own. Well, all of that is feedback that there's a lack of clarity. Okay, so Chris, thank you for that. And you are winning a Propel. You are winning a Propel for that gem. And okay, so we have another winner here. And this is Susie Cudmore. So Susie wrote, one of my aha moments was when Susan suggested changing trainers if obstacles were on the agenda very early in the foundation training. Hearing this confirms my thinking was on track when I politely declined letting Taisha jump over obstacles at our second beginner agility class, and has given me more confidence to be an advocate for my pup and to ensure our agility journey is safe, confidence building, and fun. Oh, so important, guys, that you know, I know that a lot of times we naturally are programmed to default to authority. And if we've signed up for somebody's class, they are the instant authority. But you've got to recognize in the world of social media, or the world of the internet, that has allowed you to learn from a world champion, that you need to now evaluate the information and authorities given you and saying, is this in the best interest of my dog? Are we trying to add complexity before clarity? And if you are watching this and you are teaching classes, please adjust and take what you can get from what I'm teaching and help to grow. You know, it's only the dogs that are going to benefit by you implementing what I'm suggesting and removing the crutches in agility training with the lures or the toys out in front, and really just grow that confidence from a place of understanding. Okay, so that was Susie, and Susie is going to win a back bump from our good friends at Galligan. And there were so many amazing gems yesterday that I had to do another one. And so we have one more gem, and this was an extra add-on from Rebecca Ford because it was just such a great summary of the takeaways from yesterday, or from Monday's Masterclass number 1. Agility is about handling on a path versus the obstacles that we naturally kind of default to. That the focus forward is the linchpin for our dogs' understanding, and that our dogs are the only judge of handling clarity. It's not us. It's not what we intended. Intentions mean Zippo for our dogs. So Rebecca, that was just so good. We're going to send you one of those awesome mats from, something bad just happened. I'm going to send you a mat from the good people at Galligan. Okay. I am going to get your questions, but I would love for you to review your notes from the handbook, and I would like you to pull out your gems from today. Go to my Facebook page. You will see this post or post similar to it where you will post your gems from today's workshop. Okay, now let's get to your questions. Kim, do you have some for me? Lots. Did you write them down? Do you want to bring them over, or? Okay. Okay, reading them. Yep. You have to come close to the microphone so they can hear you. They saw you last night, but let's have some hearts for Kim coming on. Come on, Kim. Okay, you can speak right into the microphone.
How do you know when you have clarity on a particular cue versus the dog offering different things until they got it right?
How do we know that our dog has clarity on a cue versus offering a lot of things before we got it right? Well, if our dog is offering a lot of things, when we cue something, that's instantly, yeah, I don't got it. Right? Believe your dog. Your dog gives you feedback. Believe them. So if you think this is a fluke, if you think is, oh, he knows this, go ahead, ask him the same question again. If you ask me the same question and I give you the same answer twice, believe me, that's what I know. Your dog reflects the training we've given him. If the training we think we've given him isn't producing the results we want, we've just got to change the training. It's super simple. Dogs love it.
Can you clarify if you give the jump cue on the first jump, if you are going to give a tight turn cue on the second jump?
So the question is, yes, you can give 2 jump cues, which means extend, or in one of those examples, Kim gave a tight turn cue. But in both cases, the timing of the cue happens well in advance so the dog can prepare for either extending their stride or collecting their stride. So there's we'll talk a little bit more about this tomorrow, but there is the tendency for people to give the cues when the dog is at the obstacle. The cue happens when they land from the obstacle before, so that they know, the GPS doesn't wait until you're at the turn. They give you that information long in advance.
When you use the wrap cue, do you always say jump first, then wrap cue? Or does your wrap cue mean take the jump in front of you and wrap back?
Remember in that little table I showed you, I have 5 cues. So if you say jump and then rye, what you're saying is run and power as hard as you can forward, and then, oh shit, no, I meant turn tight here. You can't say sit and lie down at the same time because they're 2 different things. So I have 6 or 7 cues for a jump. If I say jump, it means power forward. Kim gave you a clear example with Swishy. She didn't say jump, check. She said jump, check. And Swagger's going crazy because he knows what all these cues means, and he thinks that we should have agility set up here in the office for him to demonstrate these cues to you, right? So a cue cues a path. A cue has only one meaning. Think of what the word jump means. It means run as hard as you can, take off as far back as you can, drive as long as you can, and power on after you land. Keep powering till the next obstacle. You can't say that and then say, oh yeah, but turn tight. No, I didn't mean, I mean, no. Cue can only mean one thing.
I'm new to agility and would like to know where I can have the verbal cues Susan uses for the different paths. I guess where they can find it.
The verbal cues, I think we'll go into some of them tomorrow, but they're unique to you. So our Handling 360 students, I think most of them use the same cues I do, but not all of them. So they're really what makes sense to you and your dog. Or if you're training with a group of people, I encourage you all to have the same cues because it's easier. And if Andrea, if you're watching this, so I'm just saying I hate that you've chosen to use some other ones.
Can you say again why we introduced the jump on a slice?
That's a great question. I'm going to get this picture out of my face. Hold on. I am so glad you asked this question. Okay. So I don't know if I'm hoping I can demonstrate this well to you. So if this is a jump bar, I'm going to show it sideways. This is a jump bar and my microphone is my dog. Do you see how far away my dog is from the microphone? Now, if I make it on a slice, look how much closer my dog is to the jump now. I've increased the clarity by decreasing the complexity. With the jump here, my dog has to go, okay, I get out of my sit and I have to move to this bar and then go over. Where when it can be the same distance and I put it on a slice, now they just have to get out of the sit and pop over. I'm making it super easy for them to be successful. Could you hear me while my microphone was a dog? I hope you could still hear me.
How do you ensure the crowd doesn't drown out your verbal cues so that your dog can hear you?
Sometimes the crowd, and it's not necessarily the crowd, with COVID and people are back trialing, a lot of people have to trial with face masks on, right? And so you have to make sure that your cues are very salient and that they can be heard. having said all that, you've got to recognize our dogs have really great hearing, and they can hear. Like I remember running my dog Buzz, who used to scream all the way around. He could still hear my cues. Also, our body and motion cues support that. So if there's any second guessing, they are going to default to what our body and motion cues say. They're going to be supporting what our verbals are saying. So it works out surprisingly. I've done agility at stadiums, football stadiums where the crowd's going crazy, but the dogs can still hear.
Will a PPT help with the reward line?
That is just a target. So those of you that don't understand, it's something from Agility Nation, Handling 360, and it is a target. So as I said, you can have the raised target or you can have a PPT out there, but you want to get rid of it quickly because it's just a crutch to help your dog get the behavior. You've got to get rid of those crutches if your goal is understanding.
And this is 2 questions, but I saw the tower in the distance. Do we fade it or use it as a target? And then someone else asked that we were using the target and then took it away. Tips to get rid of it.
So the target in the distance is simply because I gave my editor all kinds of footage with Kim without a target, but a few with, and just by choice, he ended up taking the ones that were at the beginning with the target. So no disrespect. I just didn't give clear enough instructions. So Kim's dog did not need that target. You could see that on the understanding when we just went straight and there was no target. There was no target and he understands the cue. So the target can be brought in if your dog is not exploding. But I'm not going to be in a hurry for that. Keep your jump on an angle, keep it simple, and then your placement of the reinforcement. And as I mentioned, you get this, I didn't actually mention it in the video, but one of the byproducts of training a jump this way, you're going to love this one. This is an extra bonus. For those of you who hung around for the questions, and I think some of you've left, but those of you who hung around, you're going to get a bonus here. This is exactly how I teach my dogs to swim without me having to throw a toy. Exactly as the way I teach jump, in that once I get my dog conditioned to like the water, when they go in the water, they maybe swim a little bit. If their head is away from me, I throw a toy over their head and they get it and they go, yay, this is fun. I got rewarded for swimming a little bit. And then, I'll gradually wait and throw my toy when they swim a little bit more. Then the next day it might be right in front of them. And I ping pong this until maybe they have to swim for a minute before a toy magically appears. And then maybe they have to swim for 2 minutes before a toy magically appears. And eventually the dog goes, I don't need the toy. I just like this swimming. So my dogs will swim on their own without nobody ever needs to throw a toy or give them a toy. So a little bonus here.
Again, this is 2 different people, but one said, do you say break, then jump? And someone else said, if I already have a cue for left, right, straight, but it's not built this way, should I start over with break and then reuse the cue or change the cue?
First, evaluate what your dog understands. So I'm going to ask the second part first. Evaluate before, and going through this would be start at the beginning and evaluate. Will your dog drive with their head down towards nothing? Very few dogs, when you say jump, will drive towards nothing because jump is built in with the complexity of the handler running and another obstacle in front. And where that bites you in the butt is when it's at the last jump. And if you are, like me, a handler who can't outrun my dog, then you're going to have a dog who slows up the further away they get from you. And when they go over the last jump, they're going to curl right back to you. So they're going to go super slow and they might even spin in front of that last jump. But when you've trained jump, meaning just power, and I don't care if there's anything out there, you've got to trust that reinforcement will be there for you. And then you add a jump in, they get it. It just makes so much sense. Okay. Do you need to say break and jump? No. You say break until the dog gets the understanding to power. Then when you're ready, you add the cue. Now, if the dog, when you say jump, they don't leave, which most dogs, if they have a really good start line, they won't, because it's like you're saying peanut butter. And they're like, well, I've never heard that word before. I don't know what it means. So you're going to say jump and then break. Remember, new cue always comes first and then the old cue. The only way they're going to learn the new cue is if you say jump, the new cue, and then add the old cue after it. If you add the old cue first, you say break and then jump, they're leaving. They didn't hear the word jump. They just heard the word break. They're gone. Like la, 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 la. I don't know what you're saying. It doesn't matter because I'm going in this direction. So always the old cue always comes after the new cue.
Two more related. With a food-oriented dog, can I use a treat and train? And then someone else asks, what is a gamble ball?
I would not use a treat and train because that's just a big old lure, isn't it? It's a lure. You need to use something that you can throw. Put cookies in a gamble ball. You can get it from For My Merles. It's got Velcro. If it opens up, you put cookies in and you can close it. I've also heard it being called a lotus ball. Or you can use anything that you can put cookies in and throw it. But if you can throw your treat and train to land over top of your dog, like in front of them, that's brilliant. But treat and trains aren't on the agility course. So by using them to get your dog to go straight, it's creating a behavior that is dependent upon the lure of seeing a treat and train there. Okay. So you need, for those of you who have dogs who you're using food with, I would do two things. Number one, as a side, I'd work on the dogs growing that value for tug. And number two, and we have tons of dogs in Handling 360 who are food driven and really aren't. But this is what we do: is take a tennis ball, put a slit in it, put cookies in. You can throw the tennis ball. There's a lot of toys that you can do. I think I've used Kong that I'll put a plug in. Actually, I think it was a champagne cork, but that's another story. That they can't get the Kong out until the cookie out of the Kong until they bring it back to you. The challenge with a Kong is it bounces all over. We really need it to land on the reward line. So a gamble ball with some weight in it would be good. Or you can throw your treat and train, but don't hit the dog. Okay.
You kind of answered this one, but someone said the more they give cues on course, the more their dog barks, and they're worried it's going to drown them.
Okay, the more you give cues on course, the more the dog barks. My hallucination is, in the tens of thousands of dogs that I've coached, that the dogs that bark are the dogs are saying, WTF, I don't know what you mean. When we create clarity, and if you have a dog who barks, I want you to go back and try this exercise and see if you don't eliminate that barking. Now, if you try to go too far, too fast, the barking might come back. And I'm not saying that your dogs, all dogs who bark are confused, but there are dogs who bark because they're just enthusiastic about agility. And then there are dogs who bark at you. So if your dog is just a dog who is like exploding, I think Momentum barked a couple of times on that run. If your dog's just expressing their joy by barking, that's different than the dog who's barking at you saying, I don't understand. So a lot of dogs, they will bark a ton less when you create clarity. I promise that.
How long do we have access for the videos?
The videos are, the Masterclass is open for, here's what's going to happen. Masterclass is open for, I believe, another week. And what happens then is on Monday. So we have another Masterclass tomorrow. On Monday, we have our celebration of everybody and all that we've learned. And that's where I open up the opportunity for those of you who are interested in joining us for a year of this kind of coaching to join us in Handling 360. But that will be the end of the Masterclass. So if you haven't got the downloads, if you haven't watched the videos and rewatched them, you should rewatch them. No, Veronica, Buzz didn't bark. Buzz screamed his bloody head off. And I believe Buzz was a combination of both. He was a dog who was verbally enthusiastic. Both his parents screamed as well. However, I think Buzz didn't bark at me. He barked while he was doing agility, but I had to work to that. I believe Buzz was born in 1996 and he did most of his agility before the year 2001. And I think, that was 20 years ago. Pretty sure I know more about dog training and dog agility. And if I had Buzz today, he would have been a different dog. I still think he would have barked, but maybe not to the same degree.
What age can I start my German Shepherd in agility?
With all puppies, there's a lot of stuff. Like we have a lot of stuff that we do on the ground, and that just helps to grow clarity for these sorts of things. So the exercise I shared today, you could do most of it with your puppy as long as your puppy has got, value for you and they'll tug and, maybe 4 to 6 months old, you could start adding these sorts of things. But there's a ton of agility foundation we do with puppies to build remember I said the placement of reinforcement is so critical to raising an agility dog. That's what we do with the puppies, is that we really bring in that understanding of value. For those of you who are still here, and there's still quite a few of you, we will be going deeper into what handling 360 looks like on Monday, but we will open up an opportunity tomorrow for those of you who say, like, I want to know more about this. We'll do we'll open a little door for you tomorrow. Handling 360 absolutely is for beginners. As I mentioned with Jenny and her Siberian Husky Electra, she was pretty much a ranked beginner when she started handling 360. And she's at the US Nationals this weekend. She now is a very, very seasoned agility handler and does brilliantly with she has a border collie and Electra still running. And we have so many people for example, we have people who come through our recallers program, which is all about dog training and building a better relationship and a better recall. And they go, well, I really like this Susan Garrett chick, so I think I'll do another program. I don't really know what agility is, or I don't really know if I want to do it, but I'll join this Handling 360. And because they come in without any preconceived ideas, they end up with amazing agility dogs. To me, it's a mind blow. Okay.
How many new verbals can you introduce at a time to not overwhelm them?
The number of verbals really depends on the dog and the history of, I would evaluate all your cues. I would evaluate sit, down, come. What does your dog understand them to mean? And then just start adding clarity with one or two. I don't want you to do one cue only for 10 days. I want you to, mix up with every training session. You might do a little bit of focus forward, and then you might do a little bit of drive to reinforcement zone, and then you might do a little bit of jump work. You mix it up. So sure, you could add different cues, but yeah, the worst thing that could happen is, think of how boring it would be if you only did math all day long. Well, that is if you enjoyed math. Bad example, because agility is far more exciting than math. No disrespect to the mathematicians out there.
What do you do when you say jump and your dog does it, but on occasion you say jump and the dog stops before the bar and looks to you before you throw the toy? Would you add the target back?
I would say that there's a very good chance that you've added too much stress of distance too early. So I wouldn't add the target back. I might throw the toy earlier. So this is where videoing your training comes in really, really handy, guys. You need to look at your video and say, look, he was doing really great until I got past 10 feet. And then after 10 feet, he started stopping and looking back at me, right? So if you've been going out to 30 feet every time to get a small reward that's just not that exciting to him, and you do too many repetitions of that, he might go, you go, I don't really feel like driving your line anymore, right? But if you build it up slowly, that will never happen. It will never happen. They'll just love it.
Is Handling 360 step-by-step structured learning like the Masterclass?
Yes. Handling 360 is a year-long coaching program where we coach you on all these levels, and we start right at the very big foundation of flat work and adding cues at your pace, really. So again, it's a new language, and some of you will want to add more cues at once. And again, we coach you through that. What's best for your dog and you.
I take classes and a private lessons with a trainer. Can we do 360 and still go to a similar trainer?
Most agility trainers are familiar with Handling 360 and 100% support you being part of our program, because it just helps them, because you come in with so many great skills. It just helps them. They will be doing at that point is challenging you, because you will be so brilliant. So if that is something, if you've got a good local trainer that will challenge you and you're working through H360, that's a perfect scenario. But we have a lot of people who live in Alaska or some really remote areas that they don't have that benefit. Those of you that do, it's just an extra bonus.
I'm often confused by which cue I have to use. I think you will talk about this tomorrow. I hope. I'm often I'm not fast enough getting the cues right. You have an idea?
Yeah, that probably is you've tried to add too many words to your new language. So yeah, and we will go a little bit more on that on tomorrow. Okay, I have got another call to do with my VIPs. So we're going to end the questions now. And we're going to we'll come back tomorrow because I've got this really cool decision making chart for you. We're going to talk more about the cues and the handling and when you put them in. And then over the weekend, I'll jump on and I'll answer more and more questions, but I don't want to hold up my VIPs anymore. And I believe we have 3 more spots in VIP. So if you still have an interest in joining our VIP where you can watch me coach people one-on-one, then, or in a group, then I do pull people up one-on-one, then go to handling360.com/VIP. But for now, you guys, your questions, every one of them have been very, very good. So thank you. It helps everybody to understand when you ask these great questions. So I've done the share. I've shared with you how you can win. Tomorrow, we're giving away more propels. We're giving away another back bump. We're giving away awesome prizes again tomorrow. So go ahead and think about, don't be in a hurry, go to your workbook and think about all the gems that you've learned either through the Q&A or through the workshop itself, and go and post those on my Facebook page, and we'll see you guys here tomorrow. Okay, so hearts to everybody. Thank you for your great questions.